Okay, in these videos we will be reviewing the types of chemical reactions that we have learned about. Some of you may have been in, some of you may have not been in. So when you're watching the video you need to make a note of what I'm writing down, so you can pause the video at any time to write down what I've written, and then at certain points I'm going to say to you, pause the video now and answer this question. So you need to pause the video and then write down what you think the answer is, and then when you play the video again you'll see the answer and you can see if you got it right or not. So the first type of chemical reaction is a metal plus an acid gives us a salt and hydrogen. Alright, and here is an example of that reaction. So our metal is sodium, the acid is hydrochloric acid, the salt that we make is sodium chloride, and hydrogen is just hydrogen. So the thing that you need to look at carefully here is, how do we get the name of the salt? Alright, so the first part of the name of the salt, sodium, comes from the metal. And the second part of the name of the salt, chloride, comes from the name of the acid. So if I use hydrochloric acid, I always make something chloride. Alright, so I use sodium and hydrochloric acid, I make sodium chloride. Alright, so here's one for you to have a go at. If I have lithium metal and I add that to hydrochloric acid as well, what are going to be the products of that reaction? Okay, so pause it now, make a copy of this, and then write in what you think the products are here. Okay, so you should have got because it's lithium metal, I get lithium, and because it's hydrochloric acid, I get lithium chloride. Alright, and just before we move on, let's have a little think about lithium chloride. Well, lithium is a metal, and chloride is from chlorine, which is a non-metal. So this compound here, lithium chloride, this compound is a metal and a non-metal, which means it is ionic. Okay, all right, let's go on. So now we're going to use a different acid. So the acid I use now is nitric acid. All right, but it's the exact same reaction, so it's still a metal plus an acid gives me a salt plus hydrogen. Okay, so it's still sodium will give me my sodium salt, but now the acid has changed. So instead of hydrochloric acid up here, I'm now using nitric acid. So if I use nitric acid, I don't get a chloride, I get a nitrate. All right, otherwise it's exactly the same. Everything else is the same. The only thing that changes is, because I've changed my acid, I get a different type of salt. All right, so you have a go at lithium plus nitric acid and tell me what the products are from those reactants. Okay, so yes, it's lithium nitrate plus hydrogen. Okay, and at this point let's just make a little note that we have hydrogen here. Okay, in all of these reactions we get hydrogen. Now hydrogen is just H2 gas. So if you do this reaction, if you add the metal to the acid, you will always get this gas bubbling off. Alright, so you would expect to see bubbles. Alright, so because we've got hydrogen coming off, okay, we would observe, this is what we would see, we would observe bubbles. And that's just bubbles of hydrogen gas. Okay, so we've done hydrochloric acid, we've done nitric acid. There is one other type of acid that you need to know about, and that is sulfuric acid. Okay, so it's the same reaction again. So I have sodium as my metal, add it to my acid, and I get my salt plus hydrogen. And again, because I've used sodium metal, the salt is a sodium salt. However, now I've used sulfuric acid, so I get a sulfate. All right, so one for you to have a go at. Let's not do lithium, we've done that already. Let's do potassium plus sulfuric acid. What's that going to give me? Okay, yeah, so it just gives you potassium sulfate and of course your hydrogen. All right, nice and straightforward. So at this point, it's probably a good idea, if you haven't done so already, to put some of this information on a flashcard. So we can have here, if we have our reactants on this side. Now we're going to do all of the different reactions on this one, so leave yourself some space down here for more reactions. So our first reaction was metal plus acid, and if I do a metal plus an acid, what are the products? The products are, so it's going to have products over here. The products were metal plus acid give us a salt plus hydrogen. Okay, I'm going to add some more reactions onto this later. But it's important that you make a flashcard because there are quite a few reactions. I think we're going to do 4 in total. And it can get a bit confusing which one's which. So if you have the flashcard, you can keep testing yourself so you can remember which one's which. All right. Now, also, it's a good idea to make one so that you know which acid gives you which salt. Okay, so we had 3 acids: hydrochloric acid, and we had nitric acid, and we had sulfuric acid. And then we can write out on the other side what kind of salt we get. So the salt was this thing here, the ionic compound with the metal and the non-metal. All right, so the salt, well, our first acid was hydrochloric acid, so the salt was a something chloride. Remember, so up here we had hydrochloric acid gives us sodium chloride. Hydrochloric acid gives us lithium chloride. All right. Number 2. So our second acid was nitric acid, which gives us a something nitrate, like nitric acid, sodium nitrate, nitric acid, lithium nitrate. And our third one, well, our third acid was sulfuric acid. So the third one is going to be something sulfate. All right, make sure you make yourself those and that you use them, you test them, test yourself using them, get someone else to test you. All right.